us today for our conference assistant informational session. My name is Caitlin Cordy. I am the coordinator for conferences and marketing here for UCF Housing. So I oversee our summer conference services operation as well as all of our lovely conference assistants.
And my name is Gordon Adams. I'm one of the associate directors for Housing and Residence Life, and one of the areas I oversee is conference services. So I'm excited to be a part of the team, and I'm excited for you to get this information. So let's just jump right in.
All right, so a little bit about the Department of Housing and Residence Life. So, our Residence Life mission is that we provide residents with a safe and inclusive housing community that fosters student success through innovative living and learning opportunities. Our vision is that we will be the premier experience for residents to live, learn, and become tomorrow's global citizens. We also have an educational priority. Of course, we are a university institution. So, of course, as a result of living on campus at UCF, we hope our students become engaged global citizens. So, this is our overall housing mission that we bring to our on campus student residents, and that extends to our camps and conferences guests that stay with us over the summers.
So, what is housing conference services? So, essentially, we don't want to have to read everything to you, and you can go back and look at this. But the bottom line is that when summer comes and we have some buildings that are vacant, we don't want them just to sit there with not being used. So, we actually rent those out to a number of different services and organizations so that way they can do some continuing education. So that could be Upward Bound or Cheer or Camp Pineapple, or various athletic camps, and we also partner with a number of institutions who are uh, interning. So we'll have students coming from different colleges and universities around the country who, let's say, they are interning at Disney or Universal and they need a safe place to stay. We happen to be that space.
All right, so where do we operate in the summer? So, of course, we have a variety of residential on campus communities here on the main campus, but we operate out of four. So, we operate out of Apollo, Lake Claire, Libra, and Nike. So, these are the communities that we have our conference assistants live in, as well as our guests and interns that stay with us over the summer.
So, who are these conference assistants we speak of? Well, here's what they do. It's kind of cool. The CA position is a combination of four different roles: a resident assistant, otherwise referred to as an RA, a housing ambassador, which we call HAs, and you can see the trend. It becomes OAs and then OT leaders. So uh, we do each of those roles combined inside of a conference assistant. So as a UCF ambassador, you see there our outstanding customer service skills, tours of residence halls, showcasing the UCF night spirit, and then some of the administrative tasks, the incident reports or inventories, facilities, occupancy checks, renewal efforts and marketing, welcome ready checks, staff meetings, timesheets. There's a number of things that you'll see and so many more that who knows might just pop up. And then we also have office duty, which the CAs are required to work 6 office hours, and that actually it's really flexible. Just depends from season to season, year to year. But just know that you'll have some office duty responsibilities. The number could go up or go down. So we'll also make sure that our teams will serve on a duty rotation throughout the summer. And as I said before, this information is always subject to be modified.
All right. So, of course, time management is key, as it is with any student position that you'll have on campus. You have to balance your schoolwork with your work, right? So, the CA position is approximately 18 to 25 hours per week. Some weeks a little less, some weeks can be a little more. We usually say an average of 20 hours per week is what you should expect from the role. Of course, that varies week to week, just depending on how busy or slow we are, how many camps are coming in and out. But regardless, our overnight duty rotation, which consists of a minimum of 2 conference assistants per day. That overnight shift, of course, is staffed 24/7, 365 days a week. If you've ever lived on campus, you've been locked out in the middle of the night, you've called that overnight staff, whether that's an RA or a CA if you're staying with us in the summer, that's what that duty shift looks like. Of course, we have additional shifts too, mainly check ins and outs for our camps. We call these miscellaneous shifts. So, just whatever we need to do to meet the needs of business that we can't quite get done within normal duty shifts, normal office shifts, etc. In addition to that, you'll have some weekly staff meetings. So every week we meet for 2 hours just to go over everything that we have going on, incoming camps, different developmental activities, lots of fun things for you guys to go over and learn. And then, of course, you'll have some one on ones with your supervisor, whether that is a community grad, your lead conference assistant, just to make sure that you are handling the priorities of the job, your priorities at school, making sure you're balancing that well, and we're giving you everything we can. You're learning everything you can. Of course, learning comes with training, so we do train you for this position. It is a week-long training. We make sure you have everything you need to know, all the resources you need to know to be able to do this job successfully are at your fingertips. And then, of course, like we mentioned in the previous slide, you'll also have office hours. So typically those result in about 6 hours. It does change summer to summer, just depending on how many communities we're operating out of, how many conference assistants we hire. But it looks like it'll be about 6, how we are currently operating. And those are usually in 2 3-hour office shift increments. And then, of course, we always get that question, what about outside work? You are permitted to have another job, volunteer hours outside of this role. However, it does have to be approved because we want to make sure you're not putting too much on your plate and that you can be successful in everything that you choose to participate in.
So, why should you apply? Well, in essence, why should you do this job is really the question we're asking. This job is one that enables you to make a difference in the lives of others. It gives you the opportunity to give back. If anyone was supportive to you when you started your journey here at UCF, you'll probably want to be able to help them do that as well. So the other reasons would be you're going to get personal and professional development skills that you'll be able to take to grad school and or another job. You'll get summer housing. Yes, that's right. As part of this job, your housing is included. That tends to end up being like part of your compensation. On top of that, you do receive a biweekly paycheck. So it's nice being able to live on campus and not have to pay for that. The other skills that are applicable to any career field, that'll help really build a strong resume, as we've mentioned, the teamwork, the crisis management, the customer service. On top of that, you'll get to develop stronger connection to the UCF community. You'll get mentoring experience, and you'll be working with a number of people that are really movers and shakers on campus. And so you can just ask the right questions. And you've got so many resources that are there to help you and allow you to be a better resource to others in any other leadership capacity that you decide to take on. So I think it's well worth it. We both did it, and you should too. I think that should be the end of the commercial. But no, there's more. Continue. Let's go.
All right. So, what are the next steps? If that sounds like something you're interested in, let's go over that. So, the CA position requirements, of course, you do have to be a UCF student. The required minimum overall cumulative GPA is a 2.5, and you are required to maintain that 2.5 throughout the duration of employment. We do require 12 credit hours completed by the start of employment. So that just means you have completed 12 credits, doesn't have to be one semester, just overall. That way we know that you know the campus a little bit, you know UCF a little bit, and that you've been acclimated to campus. Student conduct, so you must maintain a clear student conduct record and, of course, remain in good standing to be in this role. And then the next step, if you are offered the position, you do have to be formally hired through the university, which requires a background check. So in order to do that, you do need a social security card and or a government ID. So as long as you have those things and you have a clear background check, you are good to go.
So how do you apply? So the CA application is usually open between October and December. The date's going to vary from year to year, depending on the academic calendar. What you'll need to do is apply at ucf.ereslife.com. And there you'll complete an online application. It's really pretty simple. Just answer the questions completely. You'll need to supply 2 references. Those should be most likely references that you've worked with. I'm thinking those will probably be the best ones. If you haven't done that, maybe somebody that you worked with that maybe oversaw you volunteering someplace, maybe even somebody from church. It's probably better so that they can attest to your professional development and how you work in a professional setting. Not like, oh, this has just been my friend and I've known them for 15 years. Because, of course, our friends want to say nice things about us, but they're not always able to say how we would perform in a business environment. So make sure that you get those reference forms. They are due 2 days after the apps close. What that means is that when you send on your application, you have to make sure that there's enough time for your references to complete it. So we don't wait until the very last day. And as I said, the dates change year by year. Give whoever it is that's going to be your reference at least a week or two, because you never know what might be happening in their lives. And if I don't want you to not be able to be eligible for this role because you don't have any references because you submitted your information a little too late. So you can edit your application until you're finished and ready to submit. So we encourage you to go in, take a look at it, feel comfortable with it, answer everything that you can to the best of your ability.
All right. So after you submit that application, what happens next? So, of course, we do have individual interviews. So, these individual interviews are going to be held in person. The entire interview tends to last about 40 minutes. And, of course, you get a series of different questions that just help us understand your experiences and how that might relate to the CA position. Typically, these individual interviews consist of two professional staff that, of course, ask these questions and take the corresponding notes. And in general, business or UCF attire is encouraged.
So, along with this individual process, we will then do a group interview. And essentially, it is done in person, and we don't have the time set up. We'll end up emailing you all those details. But the whole experience should last about 45 minutes. There will usually be 2 to 4 housing staff members taking notes. Again, the business or UCF attire is encouraged. And we really just want to see how you interact in a team setting, because so much of the conference assistance program relies on teamwork. So we want to see some of that in action before we make some decisions on who will make the best fit for the team.
And just to clarify, the group interview is a separate date from your individual. So you'll sign up for your individual interview time and slot, you'll complete that, and then you'll be emailed after notified of when to sign up for group interviews. All right, so a little bit about both, so individual and group interviews. So for the individual interview, some advice we like to give is always provide situational questions. So that STAR response is something that is used greatly throughout housing and residence life, as well as all other jobs. It is just a great way to frame the answers to your questions. So what is the STAR response? So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So this is kind of a mnemonic to help you remember how to structure those answers when you are in an interview. So situation is a context background. So whatever example that you're giving, first you want to start with the situation. So give that context, give that background. Next is the task. So what did you accomplish? What did you do? What were the challenges that you faced? Next is action. Explain what you did. What were your action steps to get through the situation at hand or get through the task at hand? And then last, R is for result. So state the benefits from your actions. What was the result of the situation that occurred? What did you learn? So this is just a great little mnemonic to help you guys remember to frame those answers through your interviews and help you kind of give as much detail as possible. And
Yeah.
then of course,
Then I'm sorry, were you going to talk about the group interview?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So with the group interview, essentially, like I mentioned, we really want to see you working together with some others to solve a problem or work towards a goal. The candidates are going to be observed also by our housing and residence life staff, and
Mhm.
observers will be taking notes and in group interaction dynamics. So we use this interview to determine exactly how well you perform in a team setting, because it's one thing for you to be able to talk really well about yourself, but now let's see you put it into action of how well you're able to work with a team.
Absolutely. All right, so selection timeline. So this is a good time to pause the recording and kind of write down those dates that are unique to this application cycle. So we have specific dates for the application, the interview offers, when individual interviews will occur, when group interview offers will be sent out, when group interviews occur, and then of course the date that decisions are released.
I feel like I should like hum the theme song to Jeopardy, you know. you know.
Right, while we wait.
Okay, that time has passed.
There we go. So overall, what happens next? So what is the overall CA hiring process? So once you go through our individual interview, our group interview on that decision day, what are you going to hear? So you'll hear whether or not you were hired, not hired, or put in the alternate pool. So of course, if you were hired, you are being actively offered a position as a conference assistant for the summer you applied. So you'll have a deadline to accept or decline that offer on ereslife.com. This offer does have a date that it expires, so make sure you read that email in full. If you do not respond, of course, you do give up that offer of being hired. And then, of course, if you do choose to accept, you'll complete an HR background process as well as hiring, just to make sure that we dot all of our I's and cross all of our T's to get you officially hired through the university. Another option, of course, is the alternate pool. So you may be offered a spot in our alternate pool, otherwise known as a waiting list. So again, this is another offer you do have to actively accept or decline by the provided deadline, just to make sure we know whether or not you are interested and whether or not you want to remain in that pool. So a lot of times, everyone who is offered a position, their plans change. This process does happen very early, and a decent amount of time ahead of our summer when you actually start. So sometimes people's plans change, and almost every year we do offer spots out of our alternate pool. So if you do get offered the alternate pool and you are interested in being offered that position, make sure you do accept it and don't let that position expire. And then, of course, you might get a not hired. This just means maybe you don't have enough experience, or we want you to gain a little more experience before you're ready to move into the role. So if you do get that, of course, we just highly recommend that you get involved on campus. We have our Residence Hall Association, which is a great way to get involved specifically with housing. And of course, you can consider applying for other housing related positions, such as housing ambassador. We have our office assistant role, and we also have a male office assistant role, all that work underneath the Housing Department of Housing and Residence Life umbrella.
So we have another position that we want to talk to you about, and this is the lead CA position. So we hire 3 lead CAs who are also going to live on campus during the summer. And the lead CAs are responsible for leading and motivating the CAs along with the rest of the housing conference services leadership team. We don't want anyone to be confused thinking, oh, is this another position like lead scholars? It's like, no, it's not. We mean lead CAs almost as if somewhat like the supervisors of it. So it is a separate role, and generally it's someone who feels that they can be the point of contact for multiple camps, manage the CA duty and office schedule, distributing and collecting survey information from camps, being a role model for the conferences staff, and more. So they're usually a leader who's maybe had some form of leadership capacities, and they feel like they're ready to help others get the best out of themselves. So it's a great opportunity to acquire supervisory and leadership experience. And due to the nature of this position, individuals with experience in customer service, supervising, and leadership roles are highly encouraged to apply. So you'll see this application in the same spot at ucf.ereslife.com.
Yep. Right, and so we have those specific dates available here on your screen as well, if you'd like to pause and write them down. So for the lead CA position, there is, of course, an application. There are individual interviews, and then decisions come after. So there is no group interview portion for the lead CA. And also, we do recommend, if you are applying for CA and want to be considered as a CA, in the event you are not offered the lead CA position, we highly recommend that you apply to both.
I feel like I should have had another song queued up. Yeah.
Maybe next time.
All right. Yeah. So RA versus CA, what's the difference? First thing we want to say is that you can be an RA and you can be a CA. You can
Yeah.
actually do both because they don't always overlap. The CA is a summer position and the RA sometimes goes into summer, but it doesn't always. So I don't want you to think like it has to be either or. It's really not a versus. What we're looking to say right here, it's like, what are the differences in what these roles do? So the RA position is a year-long contract where you'll live in the residence halls to provide support to residents. The support includes serving in an overnight on-call duty rotation, hosting events, connecting with residents on a one-on-one basis, and working move-in and move-out and more. So the CA position is a summer-only contract where you'll also serve in an on-call duty rotation, but you'll have additional shifts to the staff and office day. So what will happen is you'll be doing check-ins and check-outs, room checks, linen placement, key packing. And I mean, the biggest piece here is that as a CA, you're not going to be looking to connect with residents and trying to build a sense of community, because most of the groups that are coming into conferences, they are a connected entity, like a cheerleading squad from someplace else or a team from someplace else. They really want to build community amongst themselves as well. And when you look at the RA role, we have all of these individuals who really want to be a part of a community. And so you're trying to get all those connections to happen. So that's a big difference in that regard. So again, the CA position, it's an incredible way to get your foot in the door with housing. And as we say, the CA position really is like 4 housing roles in one. So many of our CAs end up going on to being huge success in other areas. A lot of them become RAs, some become male office assistants and or housing ambassadors, just depending on where their journey has taken them. Conference Services works directly with the resident's life to ensure that any applicants in both the RA and CA hiring pool don't get conflicting offers. So we work together as a team here and want you to know that if it's something that you're interested in doing, we can help you apply for both and be strongly considered for both.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is about all we have for you all. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this info session and learn a little bit more about the conference assistant and lead conference assistant positions. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us directly, conferencehousing@ucf.edu. But if not, we hope to see your name in the application pool. You can apply at ucf.ereslife.com.
Yeah, that's all we've got.
That's
So
all we
make it
got.
a great day, make it a great application, and best of luck.
Yep. Charge on nights.